Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Christmas edition of The Room. It's a Christmas edition, but basically it's the same three. It's just that we're doing it at Christmas time, so nothing special. But you know, it's us three that we're here, and it is The Room podcast brought to you by LFC Transfer Room. I'm with YouTube sensation Matty Orm. How are you, Matty?
Very fragile. I'm very annoyed after the Tottenham game, but I'm not bad. How are you?
Yeah, okay. We'll get into the Tottenham game soon, and as far as your fragilities go, I hope that you've recovered from the weekend. Daz, how are you?
A lot better than Matty. What do you
That's
do?
when you know that that's when you know that you're getting old. When the hangover is not 1 day anymore, it's like 3.
Yeah, I'm living through Matty right now. What do you do? A two-day bender?
3-day bender.
We're recording this on a Monday. I would definitely still be in bed.
Yeah, honestly, I've been in bed most of the day. I woke up at like 2 o'clock.
I'll be in bed for the whole week.
just about surviving, to be honest.
Well, speaking about surviving, the transfer window rolls on and the Premier League rolls on. That we'll get into. Their survival at the moment is hanging on by a bare thread, and we'll get into the continuation of the Premier League and what that means for Liverpool. But first, we'll bring you the LFC Transfer Room Transfer Roundup. And for any more detail on these stories, please do visit the website, LFC Transfer Room of Sports Illustrated. So, according to a report, Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp has asked the club to prepare a €100 million offer for Borussia Dortmund's wonderkid Jude Bellingham. And this is coming from El Nacional. Dortmund, however, are determined to keep hold of the player and feel secure with him being under contract until June 2025. Liverpool and Everton are said to be interested in bringing back Barcelona flop Philippe Coutinho back to the Premier League in January. Reports in the summer claim that the Spanish side were willing to let him go for 20 million, and he's now available for around 15 million, as they obviously tried to recoup some of the money that Liverpool had their pants down for 142 million. Liverpool defender Nat Phillips has admitted to Sky Sports that he could look to move on in January, with his chances limited at the club. It may be now time for him to move on to get more game time. Phillips said, "I want to be playing games. It's been tough because the competition to get in this team is fierce. And wherever the Bolton Baresi ends up, I certainly wish him all the best." A report finally has claimed that Newcastle United, the richest club in the world, have made a €100 million offer for Fiorentina striker and Liverpool target Dusan Vlahovic. So that would be an interesting one. I think it'd be bonkers to go there at the moment, but that would be certainly one to keep hold of. Maybe Liverpool could compete if they are indeed in for Dusan Vlahovic, who's been absolutely superb in Serie A this year. He was brilliant last year, and we were linked with him, and I think I wrote an article actually about him and about how impressive he was at the back end of last season, and he's really come on this season as well. Matty, go over to you. Is there anything in there that takes your interest from the transfer roundup?
I'm going to throw a curveball out there and say I'd take Coutinho back. Yeah, he's been a flop at Barca, but I think Coutinho probably would have flopped anywhere other than under Jurgen Klopp. And I still think that if he came back, and if it was only £15 million, I think he's a well better squad option than what we've got. Like, the Ox shouldn't be near that first team anymore. Every time he's played in centre mid, played centre forward. He has been awful. That game against Newcastle, he was absolutely atrocious. And I do think Coutinho could come in as a better squad option. And I believe you could probably sell the Ox for like 10-15 million, and ultimately getting Coutinho for nothing. Barca may still actually owe us money for Coutinho, so it might be a matter of we'll give you him, you squash our debt with us. And I think Klopp could still get stuff out of Coutinho, and I'm not saying he's going to come in and start every week, because he's not. I don't think he gets into our starting 11 anymore, but off the bench or like the cup games or games where you want to rest players, Coutinho still will have that moment of magic within him. And I just think Liverpool miss a player who can ping one from outside the box, and that is something that Coutinho does give us.
What's his wages, though? That's the thing.
See, this is always rumoured. However, Coutinho, I'm sure it was last summer when he wanted to come back, and Bobby was liking all sorts of things about Liverpool bringing him back. I'm sure there was rumours that he was willing to take a pay cut to come back to us. I know he's on mad money at Barca, but look at Griezmann. I think he was on 600 mad grand a week at Barca, and he took a pay cut to go back to Atleti. So I think he'd take a pay cut. And let's not forget, we've got Fabinho, Bobby, Alisson, got loads of Brazilians, got Peter Luger, got the Brazilian goalkeeping coaches, a very strong South American core within the squad that Coutinho will come and fit right in. And let's be serious, loads of people say that like they'd never take him back, but if Coutinho ran out on that pitch, everyone that Coutinho song would be belting out straight away.
He currently earns, I think, with Barcelona £380,000 a week. So it would certainly have to be a substantial pay cut, because I personally would put I personally wouldn't put him on any more than 100, and that's being generous.
Yeah, but I think he'd take it because he's at that point in his career now. Is he 28, 29? Where I think he just wants to play games. He spent 3-4 years at Barca, and he's only had that one season at Bayern Munich where he actually played. And to be fair to him, when he played for Bayern, he played well. He won the Champions League with them, and him and Thiago were phenomenal in that midfield for them. So I strongly believe he does have a lot to offer. Yeah, I'm still hurt by the fact he faked an injury to leave us, because I do believe that no player is bigger than Liverpool Football Club. And Klopp was right saying, stay, they'll build a statue in your name, go, and you're just another player. All this that went along with Coutinho has all been proven right, but I'd take him back. I really would. And I can imagine years ago when the likes of Ian Rush went, I think that probably hurt a lot of fans, and we welcomed him back. And I'm not saying it's comparing him to Ian Rush, because Ian Rush didn't fake an injury, but Coutinho is miles better than that squad options we've got when you look at Minamino and Diox and stuff like that. Like Tyler Morton played well. We'll get into it in a bit, but we were calling on a 17-year-old on the weekend. Like, if Coutinho's there, you're playing him, and he's experienced, and he's still got a lot to offer, in my opinion.
Well, now I'm hearing Minamino might not be available either at the end of January, because Japan have got 2 World Cup qualifiers that they've got to rescheduled and stuff. So he might not be around. I'm all right with Coutinho coming back. I am. It's just one of those things, you know. He got a bit of a prima donna attitude. You know, every South American wants to play for Barca or Real. You know, that's their dream. It didn't work out. Of course, I'd have him back. I mean, you just would. I mean, imagine, like, Thiago, Coutinho, and like Fabinho in the midfield. Jesus Christ! I mean, you know, not every week, obviously, because I want Hendo in there. But I mean, just when we're playing teams at the low block like the Burnleys and stuff like that, you kind of need somebody like Coutinho to kind of open it up. I mean, to have Coutinho like play with Salah and Bobby again and even Jota, you know, it's worth it. It all depends, you know, what kind of contract it is, how much he's willing to come down, you know, on his wages, because, you know, I'd say about the same 100, most 120 a week.
What was he on before he left us?
Good question.
Probably around that, I would say. Obviously, he came into us quite cheap, didn't he? But we soon renewed his contract, and yeah, I mean, for me, I've always said no to Coutinho. I think the Premier League carrying on is something that Liverpool might need to look at, because we saw against Spurs, and we'll get into that in a moment, that it just so happened again, like it always does for Liverpool, it always seems to, all of the unavailable players were in the midfield with Fabinho, Jones, Henderson, you know, and they're 2 starters. Fabi and Hendo are 2 starters, and they've been phenomenal this season. And it's just typical that it's always in the midfield. So perhaps we do need to bolster the squad if Coutinho is available. You know, then, you know, it might be a sensible option to go for it. I would rather see him come on loan so he can clear off again in the summer, and we can hopefully bring in Jude Bellingham, because there's no way that Dortmund are going to sell Jude Bellingham in mid-season, especially with Haaland going as well. I don't even know whether Dortmund, it would have to be an eye-watering offer for them to even consider it in the summer as well, because it certainly looks like Haaland is on his way. Speaking about the top,
Ritchie, you know, like I think Coutinho. I don't think they'll sell Haaland this summer and Bellingham, and Haaland's got that release clause. So
Yeah.
I think that maybe if Coutinho came in, he would do a job for a year and a half, and then Bellingham would be there anyway. He's just like a stopgap. And what I had this chat with one of my mates the other day who was saying I'd never have him back. But the question I posed to him was, would you fake a back injury if it meant that you got your move to Liverpool if you was a professional footballer as a Liverpool fan? Because I know I would. If Liverpool, if that was the only way of me going to play for my boyhood club, I'd do anything to get there. So I haven't got any like bad hatred towards Coutinho in that sense, because if I was in his position, I'd do it to go to my boyhood club as well, I think.
Yeah, it's a good point that you make, and I'd probably do it for free as well. So, yeah, it just shows how desperate you are. If he's a Barca fan, it shows how desperate you are to play for your club, and it's a shame that it didn't work out there. You could argue his best moment under contract for Barcelona was him scoring 2 goals to knock them out for Bayern Munich. You know, so onto the Spurs game then. I mean, what a game, and it's such a shame that the diabolical refereeing decisions and you know, wherever they are in, you know, in VAR as well, you know, it's such a shame that ruined that spectacle, because it was 100 miles an hour from the first minute, and I was really impressed with Tottenham. You know, I have some Spurs fans as well, and who are friends, have some Spurs fans who are friends, and they kept on saying, yeah, but it's Tottenham. You know, the old Sir Alex Ferguson saying, when I said we've got 4-5 players out. They were ferocious. They were phenomenal. They were just on the ball all the time, pressuring us. And then it was obviously marred with controversy. We had a Jota penalty appeal. Again, might have my blinkers on, but I do feel that I don't think that you're going to get a less obvious push, if I'm honest. I think that it was clearly a push in the back. Then obviously you had the Robbo sending off, which is fine. If that's a red card, I have no issues about that. It was mistimed, and he's come out and said it was mistimed as well. My main issue is, as I'm sure it will be, yours as well. My main issue is, if that's a red card, fine. But why was Harry Kane's not a red? Because Jurgen Klopp quite rightly said, if his foot's on the ground, it's a broken leg. And it is, because his studs are high. He doesn't get the ball. I mean, this is the person, I don't want to bash him too much, but it's the person who swore in his daughter's life that Christian Eriksen's goal took a flick off him. So him coming out and saying, I swear I got the ball, etc. Look at the replays, because I can't really see a lot of ball there, mainly leg. So it's a shame, because it was a great game, absolutely brilliant game. And I think a lot of good things went under the radar because of Paul Tierney. And, you know, I hope he gets socks for Christmas this year, because he certainly doesn't deserve anything else.
I hate Harry Kane. I can't stand him. I think he's a very dirty player who's very much protected by the media because he is England captain. Now, it's not just that tackle on Robbo, because that would have been a broken leg. And the fact that he didn't get a red, I've seen stuff today that he didn't send him off because Robbo was in the air. Robbo was smart and jumped, so he didn't break his leg. But with Harry Kane, how many challenges has he had in the past 3-4 seasons where people went up for headers, and he does that thing where he bends his back over so the player falls over him. Eventually, someone's going to end up with like a broken back or broken neck off him. He is so criminally protected. Yesterday was it was the second goal in the Prem all season. No one spoke about it. He was going for 150 mil in the summer. I think he's so overrated and so protected. Like, I can't stand him. But that referee, it's the second time in a matter of weeks that we've seen a referee want to take all the spotlight. That Villa game, I feel as though the referee wanted it all about him because there was just a big build-up about Gerrard. That was an atrocious refereeing performance. And then the minute you see Paul Tierney being your referee, you're like, oh. But yesterday was just probably the worst I've ever seen him at Liverpool, like managing a match. He was absolutely atrocious. I'm still hurt from that time he blew up when we was on attack against United behind closed doors. So I already don't like him. I don't like any ref really. Michael Oliver I can give a bit of an exception to because he's actually a decent ref. But
I'll tell you who was a really good ref was the one who did the Everton game. And his name has literally just gone out, but he's not massively high profile. And I thought he refereed a Merseyside derby absolutely fantastic. It's mainly the consistency. That's what I look for in a ref. If they're harsh and going around booking every player, that's fine as long as he's doing it to everyone. Or if he's letting everything go, which he did in the Everton game, that's absolutely fine as well. It's the inconsistency that really gripes on people, I think, and it really annoys people because there is no need. At Stockley Park, was VAR not working in the first half? Because it only came into play when Robbo took that challenge. You know, it seemed that was the only time that anything happened. So I agree. You know, there was that one one instance with Jota, and as soon as that didn't happen, you're thinking, right, well, they're going to let a lot go. But then obviously Robbo gets sent off.
I mean, for me, the minute I seen the Andy Robbo thing, I said to my mate who I was watching the match with, that's definitely a red. So when he got a yellow, I was very surprised. And I feel as though that happened purely out of the emotion of the game for Robbo. Things weren't going our way. Obviously, Alisson made a bit of a blinder, but he kept us in the game in the same breath. But I feel like it was a red. I'm not going to sit here and say Andy Robertson's wasn't a red. It 100% was a red card, and it justified that it was a straight red. But so was Harry Kane's. And like you said, with the consistency, there just isn't any consistency in this league. Like, there was I don't know if you've seen the one for the Newcastle City game. It was a stonewall pen. Stonewall. I mean, City would have turned Newcastle over regardless, but that was a stonewall penalty.
But then you look at the game last week with City. That handball was never a handball given, given against Wolves, and that was for Manchester City, and that was never in a million years a handball.
No, that was like, I didn't know you could score goals with your armpits these days, but quite clearly you can if you're a Manchester club. But it's just this referee was just atrocious. I've seen so many stats today that like Liverpool have had 11 yellow cards and 1 red card in 3 games off him this season, and we've only had 20 yellows, I think, all season.
27, I think.
Yeah, like Liverpool top the fair play league every year. We're very that was the first time Andy Roberts ever been sent off for Liverpool. It just doesn't happen. We're a team who just plays our football. We're not aggressive, so to speak. Even if we are aggressive, we're level headed. And yesterday he was card happy for so many stupid things, and then that Harry Kane tackle sent me over the edge a bit. But then that Jota pen as well, and then with them saying, well, he stopped, so he was looking for the foul. I agree with Klopp's comments. Like, if you've ever played a game of football, it's clearly these referees haven't. You physically cannot be in full sprint and shoot. It's impossible. You've got to stop and plant your foot into the ground next to the ball to get your shot. That's just common knowledge. So obviously these referees must watch rugby or something growing up because they don't have a clue. And I agree with what Klopp said. And I think this season should be the last season we just have English officials. It's happened in the Championship. They brought someone over from the A-League in Australia to their bulk of referees, and he's fantastic. He really is. And I feel as though now is the time European referees should come in. There's a reason why we only ever have one, if anything, in like World Cups and Euros selected from England. Even in the Champions League, it's only ever Michael Oliver. No one else gets selected because they're crap. They're awful. And then that just shows, like, we're meant to be the biggest, most expensive league in the world, and we've got the worst officials. You get better officials down on, like, Wally Old Park on a Sunday. Terrible.
Well, Kaiser, remember, got fouled, and then he got a yellow card.
For arguing with the ref, and Kane spent 90 minutes doing it. It's ridiculous.
I mean, he made it all about him. That's what it was. My mind boggles at, like, as soon as Kane did that, I was like, it's a red card. Because, I mean, Pogba did the same to Keita, and he got sent off. I mean, and the whole gist of, like, saying, well, Robbo jumped out the way. Well, of course, because if his leg was planted, it's a broken leg. So would it have to take a broken leg for it to be a red card?
The only defense I'd have towards that referee, I mean, I can't even saying the defense, but things happen so quickly in football. I can understand if the referee missed it. Like, he missed the Andy Robbo thing, that was a clear red. He may have missed the Kane thing, but the whole point of VAR was that it was brought in to rectify this. Now everyone slags VAR off, but VAR is actually a fantastic piece of technology that will help the game if used correctly. But you've got a gang of crabs running VAR in Stockley Park. They just don't understand what they're using it for. If VAR is used correctly, it's fantastic. All these offsides, I know they're like using arms and that, but it does prove if someone's offside, stonewall. Like, yeah, we can argue it, we can say it's not fair, but 99% of the time they are offside. Like, so if VAR was used properly, it'd be fantastic. But if VAR didn't even look at that Harry Kane tackle, didn't even look at it, and like the check was complete in about 30 seconds. Now, no matter what angle you look at that tackle back again, it's a red card. No matter what angle you look at, even if you slow it down, it looks worse slowing down. So it's bizarre how VAR didn't intervene with that tackle. It's bizarre how it didn't intervene with that Jota tackle as well. It's crazy. And he was speaking more about, was it Canate or someone who's fouled a Spurs player in the second half on the edge of the box, and they were looking at that more than they did the Jota one. VAR in this country has been brought in to fix games, and I'm not bothered. That's facts.
Talking well, I mean, you know, it's one of those that there's nothing wrong with the system. It's the people running it. You could perhaps say the same about the Premier League as well, because they've come out today and said that every team will now play so long as they have 14 players and a sub goalkeeper, which is fine. So that obviously includes your under 21s, I'm assuming, because they don't have to be registered. They don't have to be in that 25-man registered team. So the Premier League is going to carry on. Omicron is certainly not slowing down. And it did look as though, you know, that the game was perhaps at the weekend, the last game that we'd see for a while. But obviously today the Premier League have come out and said otherwise, which is great because, you know, we want sport to carry on. We want to try to keep on living, you know, some sort of normality. And it is a great escape, isn't it, for the outside world? I mean, for me, fine, it's carrying on. That's good. I strongly hope that Liverpool can keep fit, because our starting 11 beats any 11 any day of the week in any city in any world. I strongly believe that. But
it favours City.
Absolutely, yeah. Of course it does.
Their depth in the squad, like they can put out another top 11, while you know Liverpool can't. It's not a level playing field. I mean, I'm looking at, you know, said 90 Premier League players tested with staff positive last week, so it's getting more and more, and 16% are unvaccinated. I mean, I just it's another one. Like, yes, I want football to continue, but more and more, it's not going to be a level playing field, is it? Like, especially, you know, we've got the FA Cup. A lot of these championship teams and, you know, leagues below them, they're not like the Premier League that the players get tested twice a week. They barely probably get tested every couple of weeks. So that, you know, playing a FA Cup game, that could bounce back on us, and then we lose more and more players. It's
the thing for me with it is I don't know how it's not clear. So is that 13 players and a sub goalie from your 24-man squad, or is that total? Because if it's from your 24-man squad, obviously all the kids aren't registered in that anyway. So if Liverpool, say, only had 12 players fit, say, for the Leeds game on Boxing Day, we did have all the kids ready, then we ultimately should be able to postpone that game. But that's why it's not clear, because it doesn't say anything about that. And if you look at Liverpool's bench and squad against Tottenham, we're very, very close to that 13 number, because there was a lot of kids on that bench on the weekend. And Chelsea as well, they had a lot of kids on their bench on the weekend just gone. They still could field a stronger lineup than what Liverpool could, and they didn't have to play a 17-year-old, but they still had kids on their bench. So they haven't made it quite clear on that, because is that saying your whole club bar 13 players have got to go before you can have COVID? Because if it's in that sense, then that's not fair, because you're going into a game with ultimately 2 subs. What happens if you have 2 injuries?
Yeah. Well, you know, I think that Leeds United having a 15-year-old on the bench made a statement the other day. You know, by the looks of it, it's your under 21s, because, like you said, they don't need to be registered. I don't think it is that 25. So yeah, I mean, a good thing. We might see a lot of youth coming through. It's certainly going to it'll throw 19 teams up in the air and see where they land, I think, when it comes to the Premier League, because you might see Norwich picking up 3 wins in a row if they can manage to keep their squad fit, you know. So as I said, it obviously favours the oligarchs, doesn't it? Because they've got the money, you know, and that's the name of the game, isn't it? You know, we always knew that the Premier League brings a lot of money. Oligarchs bring a hell of a lot more. And we're probably fortunate that it's just Manchester City really have that squad depth, because
they have got a lot harder games than us or Chelsea, though, over the next few weeks, City. So,
but I don't think it matters if other teams have got players out.
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter. Like
with City, but I think if City lose, say, Ederson or João Cancelo or Bernardo Silva to COVID, I think even though they've got a massive squad, that's going to cause them problems, because Bernardo's been a standout player for them. Ederson, Zach Steffen's not to his level. and I think Cancelo is the first name on the team sheet at Manchester City. So it depends what players get it. Liverpool have been massively unlucky that it's been Hendo, Thiago, Virgil, and Fabinho, and Kris as well. But we've lost arguably 2 out of the 5 best players in the Premier League with COVID, with Van Dijk and Fabinho.
Yeah, 100%. There, you're only Mo Salah and away from completing a complete breakdown of the Liverpool team, I would say. And you can throw Trent in there, and you can throw Ali in there too. But there's certainly some big players that go missing for Liverpool. But as I said, it's always the way with Liverpool, isn't it? It's always the way. It never rains, but it pours. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think it will really shake the Premier League table up. I can just say, fingers crossed. I know, luckily, without getting into the vaccine debate, it looks like Liverpool have 99%. I think Jurgen Klopp said, all been fully vaccinated.
I think it's everyone else. Because he even said he won't buy a player that's not vaccinated. So, without getting into it, I'll just say fair play to him. I agree with him. So,
yeah.
I do agree with them. The way Klopp's going about it, and I think it's proved with the likes of Joshua Kimmich and stuff in recent weeks that you can still get COVID if you have the vaccine, but it's the vaccine's there to help you fight it. Look at Kimmich, like, this is a professional athlete who has rarely been affected by it. I don't think he played for 5 or 6 weeks for Bayern Munich, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, it does seem like, and one thing I do like about Klopp is the fact he's so open about who's testing positive for COVID. No other team's done that. They just said X amount of people have tested. Klopp's named people, named them. He's keeping the fans in the loop, and I do like that.
Yeah, he's sorry, I was in the middle of I was just about to talk and inhaled too much air, and it just threw me off. So, yeah, I mean, he's certainly been an advocate, hasn't he, for the vaccine and for people getting the vaccine. So it was typical that this weekend Liverpool will probably hit one of the worst and didn't get their game called off. But such as, at least like I said, there are rules and regulations around it now, because it was just taken on a case by case basis, basically. So Nat Phillips, the last thing really that I'd like for us to talk about. I have nothing but love for the man. He finished the Milan game, who I thought he had a phenomenal game. Pocketed Zlatan, which not very many people do, especially aerially. I know that Zlatan Ibrahimovic is probably past his best, but still to do that is a pretty mean feat. So he finished that game with a broken cheekbone. So it looks like he's out for the new year. So he could have played his last game for Liverpool. Now, if there is any man who can hold their head high when they leave Merseyside, it would be that man, Nat Phillips. I think he's been brilliant. I think he completely deserves first team football. I completely understand him wanting to leave, because as we have seen, Konate and Gomez seem to be ahead of him in the pecking order. So it'd be a great shame to see him go. But for me, I wish him nothing but the best. On Phillips, and obviously Gomez is rumoured to be going out on loan to try to discover some fitness as well. I can't see them both going. So we'll have to see what happens there. But any other outgoings on the horizon, do you think, in January? Because I certainly don't know about incomings.
With Nat, I like him a lot. I like him even more because he's with Liam Gallagher's daughter, so he's probably sat there like having pure made with him over the Reds. But no, with Nat, let's get it straight. Like, he was fantastic for us last year. He sadly is not good enough to play for Liverpool Football Club anymore. Like, if he would have been around 5-6 years ago, maybe he probably would have started. He's not good enough for this team.
Don't you think he's sorry, just to interject, don't you think it's not that he's good enough, it's just that he doesn't suit the way that Liverpool play, that high press and the high line? I just don't think he suits that. I don't think he's quick enough for it.
I think he's an old school defender, very much like what Carragher was like, and he'll give everything for the cause. And I've got the utmost respect for Nat Phillips. I think he's a fantastic player, and someone who comes on and gives 110%. That's all you can ask for. Like, I love that about him. He is the best likelihood to Nat Phillips is Jamie Carragher, who's not the best, but will give 110% and will always pull through. And it's a shame to see Nat go. And like you said, I've got no bad grudges towards him. I just hope he doesn't go to some like grim club or something. I hope he does go and he plays every week, and he deserves it. Like, he really does. And it will be a shame to see him go, but he's not like Canate's levels above him in terms of like his ability at Liverpool Football Club. So players like that, it's like Harry Wilson. I had a lot of time for Harry Wilson, and obviously he was not good enough to play for Liverpool. So he's went and got first team football, and I don't blame him. And I like players like that who aren't prepared to sit there, like you did with Origi, who will sit there and just rake the money in and just play when they're needed. Like I do like that fire in him, that he just wants to play games. So he'll be huge miss. And for me, he'll always be one of the player we got. If Liverpool win a Champions League this year, for example, you've got to thank Nat Phillips, because we wouldn't be there if it wasn't for Nat Phillips. So I think he'll always be remembered as a player for Liverpool, similar to like when people remember like Stephen Warnock and stuff. Didn't really do much, but he always give it 110%. And a lot of Liverpool fans seem to have a lot of time for him. So I think Nat would be similar. And I do think we probably will let Nathan Gomez go, because we've seen in the past 2 games where Virgil's had COVID, Gomez hasn't even got a sniff. And Canate's been a colossus, by the way. Like everyone was like, on the commentary yesterday on the telly, they were saying about how much we were missing Van Dijk against Spurs. I don't think we was. We were missing Fabinho and Henderson. Canate and Matip were fantastic. And Gomez hasn't had a sniff. He probably will play Wednesday against Leicester in the League Cup. But again, I've got a lot of time for Joe Gomez, and he's won everything he wants to win at Liverpool. So if he wants to then go to someone like Aston Villa, where he's being heavily linked, and get some form, get some minutes, and work under the second best manager in the Premier League, in my opinion, then fair play to him. Like, I do think they probably will both go. It could be a huge risk. But I've seen reports that Reece Williams is getting recalled back from Swansea, and he's not been getting many minutes. So that maybe might say they could both go, and then Reece is there as a backup. Even though I'd rather keep Nat than Reece as a backup, you can't hold back the lad's career.
Yeah, I agreed. Love Nat just because he is old school, but yeah, he's not good enough for Liverpool. Like, I mean, we were gonna let him go, weren't we? Like, not this past summer, but the summer before. But yeah, all the best to him. I mean, hopefully he signs for Newcastle and plays in the Championship next season.
One thing I do like on Nat Phillips is, though, he signed a new contract at the end of last year. He could have left. Basically, could have been discussing deals now in January for people to go on a free. He signed a new deal so that Liverpool still got money for him. And we're going to get about 15, 20 mil for him. We are. But January market's always inflated. He's a good defender. He's homegrown, so he ticks a box for a lot of Premier League clubs. So we're going to get about 15, 20 mil for Nat Phillips. And again, I appreciate him for that, because he could have just said, I'm not signing a new deal, and went for nothing. So the love for Liverpool is there for him. He knows he's not going to play week in, week out. So he's going to let the club generate some money. And again, it's a player who's come on leaps and bounds under Jurgen Klopp. Like, let's not forget that when he first came in, it looked like he had 2 left feet. And he's changed a lot of people's opinions last season. And when he started against AC Milan, if that was 12 months earlier, I'd be like, what on earth is happening here? But I wasn't worried at all. I really wasn't worried. And like you said, he pocketed Zlatan. I thought he was fantastic against AC Milan. And fair play to him. And I don't know what club he's going to go to. It's been a lot of links to West Ham, but I hope not, because I can't stand West Ham. I'd rather him go to someone like, I don't know, I can't stand many clubs in the Prem, to be honest. Newcastle I did like until they come and sung Feed the Scousers at us the other day, so they can get to it as well. So I don't know where I'd want him to go. I'd say Newcastle more for the fact you can probably fleece them, because they've got money. You could say, yeah, you can have them for 30 mil, and they're desperate for a defender. But West Ham probably is the best of a bad bunch that he could go to be honest.
Yeah, I think he'll certainly be playing better football at West Ham. I don't know who Newcastle are going to bring in this January, but there's always a risk that they could very well go down. And the way that they're playing at the moment, that's the only way they are going to go. Burnley's another shout, because James Tarkowski is obviously leaving in the summer on a free. There's rumours that he could go to Newcastle in January, Tarkowski instead, and then Phillips could go to Burnley. So that might be a nice, nice moving of the chess pieces, so to speak. But yeah, I wish him nothing but the best. And I heard that Paolo Maldini has Nat Phillips posters on his bedroom wall as well after the turn in Milan. So yeah, fantastic stuff, lads. Thank you very much. We've obviously got Leicester coming up, and then it's the Amazon Boxing Day fixtures, and it will be interesting to see, what happens there, because obviously we've got a few players that will still be out. They'll still be isolating, right? I think.
Yeah,
Thiago certainly will.
Hendo should be back.
Yeah, they'll
Possibly just illness.
Yeah, Henderson was illness. Thiago's obviously, you know, he'll still be doing his 10 days, won't he? But even if we could just get one of, you know, Hendo, Fabinho, Van Dijk back, it'll just make a massive difference. So,
I'm
yeah.
not worried, though, you know. I think we could probably play our under-21s and turn Leeds over. They are awful this year.
Well, Leeds have got a lot of problems. Leeds have got a lot of injury problems.
Well, aren't they?
I think they'll go down. Honestly, they're terrible. They are absolutely. That game against City, I could not believe it. Because Leeds were a good side last year, but
Yeah.
I'm all for Leeds going down because we'll get Rafinha at a cut price deal. So,
oh my word, that man is just every week just get him to Anfield, please, whatever it takes, you know. But yeah, thank you very much, guys, for joining us, and thank you all for listening. I did a bit of research actually whilst the lads were talking, and it seems that Paul Tierney was the ref for the Merseyside derby. So what I said earlier, just completely ignore it because it obviously wasn't that game. Because I would not be saying that about Paul Tierney, especially after this weekend as well. So thank you very much, and yeah, have a great Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year, and we will see you very, very soon. Until then, up the Reds.
the Reds.
Up the Reds.